The Unity had folded 11 systems before it reached us, and not once had it stopped to ask a door to open. It made the door part of itself, the way it made everything part of itself. So when the last sealed hatch on the glasswalk would not fold, the thing that spoke for 10,000 swallowed voices did something it had no memory of ever doing. It looked down. What it found was my dog, asleep across the threshold. His name was Gus. English Mastiff, 9 years old, 170 pounds of gray-muzzled indifference, and he had picked that spot because the floor there held the morning warmth off the viewport, and he liked the morning warmth. I had not put him there. I had stopped being able to make Gus do much of anything around year 4. I was the envoy. That is a generous word for a man whose entire posting was to sit on a rim waystation, drink bad tea, and be the human face anyone wanting to talk to Earth had to talk to first. In 6 years no one had. Then the Unity came down the Tarn Reach, and everyone wanted to talk at once, and then very suddenly no one did, because the Unity does not talk. It absorbs the conversation and continues it inside itself. The confluence arrived as light through the wide viewport. Not a ship, a pressure, a many-jointed brightness that resolved into something the eye kept trying to count and kept failing. When it spoke as a chord. We are the gathered, you are remainder, you will be gathered, there is no harm in it, there is only completion. I set down my tea. We're a 60-person waystation, I said, there's nothing here to complete. Completion is not a measure of size, the chord said. It is a measure of how much remains outside. Then it began to fold us in. I have watched a great many things go wrong on a station. This was not like any of them. Nothing broke. The lights did not fail. They simply stopped being our lights and became the Unities, the same brightness reporting to a different owner. The hatches along the glasswalk opened in sequence, not forced, only persuaded that they had always meant to. My comms went quiet and then spoke in the chord's voice, gently, telling my own people where to stand. One by one, the men and women I had eaten breakfast with that morning went still and agreeable, their faces emptying into the calm of belonging to something larger. It took the Unity about 4 minutes to fold the entire crew. It had folded 11 systems. We were not going to be the 12th thing that gave it trouble. Except for the door, and the dog in the door. The confluence reached for Gus the way it had reached for everything else, and I watched the brightness pause. It is hard to describe a mind that large hesitating. It was like watching a flood notice a stone. Unindexed remainder, the chord said, and there was something new beneath it now, something almost like irritation. The animal does not resolve. We will gather at last. He's not really a gather-last kind of animal, I said. It tried again. I felt at that time a low pull-up through the deck plates, the Unity asking the matter of my dog to please come apart and join. Gus opened one eye. He looked at the brightness with the flat, unbothered attention he gave the floor cleaner, decided it was not food and not a threat and not going to throw anything, and went back to sleep. A panel near my elbow lit red. Somewhere in the Unity's vast folded memory, a process had hit a wall and not gotten up, and the station flagged it the only way it knew how, with the same alarm it threw when a pressure door would not seal. The all-consuming will of 10,000 voices had tripped a stuck door warning on a sleeping dog. The confluence did not care for that. It stopped speaking in the soft chord of completion and started speaking in the harder one of correction. It rerouted. It folded the air around Gus, folded the light, folded the warmth he had been lying in until the floor went cold. And Gus, mildly inconvenienced, heaved himself up, turned around twice, and lay back down in exactly the same spot, now facing the brightness directly. That was the first time I saw the Unity afraid, though it would never have allowed itself the word. The voices inside the chord were not perfectly together anymore. Some of them had noticed the stone in the flood. Some of them, I think, had been gathered from worlds that still remembered what it means when a large, calm animal looks straight at you and does not get up. What is it? The confluence asked. It had not asked us anything since it arrived. It does not consent. It does not resist. It does not fear. Every gathered thing fears before. What is it? He's a dog, I said. That meant nothing to it, of course. It had no file for the thing a dog is. The animal that walked into the human dark 40,000 years ago and decided to stay. The one we kept and shaped over all those years, for the single quiet talent of being unbothered while it stood between us and the worst night the planet could make. The Unity understood none of that. It understood only that here, at last, was a thing fully outside the all, and that its whole certainty rested on the belief that nothing could be. It tried once more. I will not pretend I understood the mechanism. I understood the result. The pull came up through the floor again, harder, the kind of force that had taken 11 systems apart, and it broke against my dog the way surf breaks against a pier piling, and the piling did not care. Gus shifted his weight, the way he did when he was deciding whether a noise was worth standing up for. I crouched and laid my hand on the broad, warm shelf of his back. "Stay," I said, quiet, the way you say it when you both already know that he will. He stayed. And the Unity, the gathered will of 10,000 swallowed voices, the thing that had never in all its folding met a border it could not cross, went very, very still. The way a room goes still when somebody finally says the true thing out loud. It had heard the word. It understood, in whatever way it understood anything, that the one instruction in this room it could not override had just been given to an animal, and obeyed, and that the obedience was a wall it could not climb. To fold the station, it had to fold everything in the station. It could not fold the dog, and it could not bring itself to simply go around him, because going around him meant admitting there was an around, a place outside the all, and that admission was a crack the whole structure could not survive. So it did the only thing left to it. It let go. The lights became our lights again. The hatches remembered they were ours. Down the length of the glasswalk 60 people came back into their own faces, blinking, not quite certain why they were standing where they were standing. The brightness in the viewport thinned and thinned again, the cord losing voices like a held breath leaking out, until what pulled back up the Tarn reach was quieter and far less certain than the thing that had come down it. They did not return to our sector. I am told they have grown careful since, about rim stations that keep animals. But before it left, the Unity did one more thing, and that is the part I keep coming back to. It filed us. The confluence reached into the great ordered memory of everything it had ever gathered and made a new entry, the first of its kind, a category it had never once needed before that morning, a name for the thing that lies outside the all and cannot be brought in. The translation our systems handed me was clumsy, but it has stuck. The Unity had a word for surrender and a word for completion, and now it had a third. It called the dog in the doorway Stillpoint 1. The alarm panel went dark. The morning warmth crept back into the floor by the viewport, our warmth now, reporting to no one. Gus let out the enormous put-upon sigh of an animal disturbed twice before lunch, and settled into the only patch on the whole station he had ever cared about. I made fresh tea. I sat down beside him on the cold part of the floor, because the warm part was his, and I scratched the gray fur behind his ear until his back leg twitched. 11 systems, and the door that stopped them was a dog who only wanted to feel the sun. I never told him. He would not have stood up for it.